Hey guys, it's Dr. Rick and welcome to another Functional Fitness Friday. What I want to do for the next few weeks is I want to go over some of my favorite hip mobility exercises. Now I really think hip mobility is very, very important, and what we talked about, I think it was with our rotational video a month or two back, is we talked about really restoring the mobility in the hips, because a lot of the time if people have issues with low back or knees, a lot of times we need to look above and below that joint and improve mobility within that joint, and sometimes it can kind of take the stress off those joints above and below and alleviate some issues with, say, the low back or the knees. So I want to show you some of my favorite kind of go-to hip mobility exercises over the next couple of weeks. Just a thing before I do, I want to make sure that we realize there's a difference between flexibility as well as mobility, because I think a lot of people tend to use those words interchangeably and they're a little bit different. So when we talk about flexibility, flexibility is more with the muscles, so like for stretching to improve flexibility. Whereas mobility, it has to do more with the joints, okay? So it's how that joint moves. And even though flexibility is part of mobility, it's still a little bit different. So the best example I can give is if I'm working with somebody on squat mechanics and I want to have them go deeper in their squat and kind of improve that joint mobility. I can't just do that by having them work on their flexibility of their muscles. So, mobility, flexibility sits under that mobility umbrella, but so doesn't range of motion, strength, coordination, motor control. So mobility tends to encompass a lot more things. But the great thing is working on flexibility and mobility together, what better place than the water, right? So one of my favorite exercises that I tend to use with all my rehab, training, sports performance clients is a rond de jambe or a elevated kind of hip circle. So how it goes is basically I have the client actually hold on to the side of the pool, maintain a good posture, and then to start, they kind of lift their leg off about 3 to 4 inches, keeping their toes down and their knees straight, and then they're just going to kind of rotate and then rotate back. And then as they get more comfortable with that, they can go higher and rotate and rotate. The biggest thing is you want to make sure that people are not going to, they have good stability on that closed chain leg, and they make sure they keep that knee straight and their core engaged. So again, it's working on stability, but it's also working on mobility. So I use this a lot for total hips, as long as there's no precautions crossing midline. I do this a lot for just balance. I do it just to kind of open up that hip joint overall. I use it a lot for athletes because they get into athletic stance position and they lose mobility in those hips. So this exercise works really well. I tend to use a HydroFit cuff on the lower body just to kind of facilitate a little bit more buoyancy assistance and to create a little bit more flexibility and mobility gains. So what I want to do is show you a video of one of my athletes who was a skier who had notoriously tight hips, lack of mobility in those hips because he was always in kind of this position. So I'll show you a video of that and what that looks like. And again, feedback is always appreciated. And next week we'll do another exercise to improve hip mobility. But again, let me know if there's anything you want me to go over. Check out McAvoy under the trainings tab. We're doing a lot of specials, back to school specials for trainings coming up in the month of October. So hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.